I'm coming. Very interesting news. Very good. And they are coming here. 5 minutes before they arrive, he goes, are you really coming? And they go, I am really coming. And they don't come. So I make a joke with Oscar. It seems like Maya has a big vacuum cleaner. He's in the corner here. And then they come, she goes, and then they go, I am coming. And they are gone. Sucked in by the Danish modes of nature. Just, yeah? And then he writes back, you didn't come. And they said, oh, I'll come next time. Something happened. Came in between. Something very important. I don't even remember what it was. Just to inform you what's going on out there. But that's preaching in Denmark, It's so animalistic. It's like a cow which wants to go somewhere and somebody is holding the tail and pulling on the other direction, And cow goes, I tried it out, you can easily control a cow. Just by grabbing the tail, and pulling. Because it feels like, I'm not going. And then it cools down and stops. This is what Maya is doing to these people. It's so plain. It's so gross. That, you can just sometimes just laugh. You think, sorry, but can you explain me why you were already on the way from the Vendors subway station? Why didn't you arrive? I don't know, there was some change of wind or something like this, or somebody was smoking hashish next to me and the smoke came in. I was just smoking like it. This is the modes we are operating with. So one should not get desperate. Lord Chaitanya's mood is, take it, not take it, we are giving it anyway. This is what he actually announced when he came to Varanasi. He said, I came here to distribute love of Godhead. Nobody is even interested. Actually, he said, I came here to sell the love of Godhead. Nobody is buying. I guess I just give it for free. That's all. This is such a charitable movement. If you calculate, when I look backwards 45 years since I joined, when you calculate how many devotees gave their life, their money, their energy to this movement, and how it was practically, not all, but most of it, was spent for simply trying to bless others with Krishna consciousness. Now proportionally what you get out of it, what is coming back to you, it's not very profitable. If you would translate it in a mood of a company which makes an investment of $2 billion and gets $20 back, they will say this is not very nice business. It's not profitable, not at all. This is minus business all the time. Nobody here knows, like we are getting Sunday feast sponsored. The sponsorship amount is never covering the cost of the Sunday feast. If you would count it down and say, okay, hey, nice sponsorship, but this is actually the real number, what it costs. No, we are always below. It's always more giving as taking. It's always like that. It always goes. But somehow we are okay, we are living. Because that's the mood of Lord Chaitanya. As one reporter asked, Prabhupada, and who's financing this whole show? I don't see anybody working here. They're all singing, dancing, feasting, and going there all like, I don't see anybody making money here. And I see it, so quite an establishment you have here. Prabhupada was bold. He said, Krishna. The reporter was going, yeah, I expected that answer, You Hare Krishna, you always say the same thing. It's all Krishna. But let's get real now. Where do you get the money from? And Prabhupada looked at him again, he said, it's all Krishna. And the man was crying. I'm not so stupid. Would I know, please, where do you get that money from? Then Prabhupada became very serious and looked at his eyes and he said, well, God is in your heart. And the reporter was pious enough to say, yes, we know it. Christians have that concept also, God is in the heart. So he said, so when God is in your heart, and he tells you, give $1,000, you will give. The man got scared. Okay, Question answered. Thank you very much. Because when Prabhupada said it, it came across so purely that the man realized this could happen. God is in my heart, and he goes, give $1,000, and I give $1,000. I don't even know how I did that. And generally, that's how this movement works. There's no rational reason why we should be here. There's no rational reason why we should survive. There was no rational reason why there was this kirtan going in the house of Srivas Thakur. This is all descending mercy. Krishna just says, I'm coming, and this is going to be my pastimes, and whoever wants to join in, fine. Whoever doesn't join in, sorry, what can we do? There is a free will, there is a decision to be made. So, you know, but following in a line of Lord Chaitanya, these kirtans didn't stay contained. This was just the initial time, a very specific time. So Srivas Thakur place is a very special place because it is accommodating a part of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes which are very intimate. As a matter of fact, it's described, you know, that the kirtans grew so ecstatic, you know, that Lord Chaitanya forgot actually his role, where he came from. He disregarded it. And in a peak of the kirtan, he actually mounted the altar, exhibiting all his opulences, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Can you imagine what a kirtan that is? You have Lord Chaitanya mounting the altar and all the incarnations are exhibited. He is the Nishingadev, he is Kurma, he is, you know, one after another, just like that. And the devotees were ecstatic. Hey, Lord Chaitanya, Kurma ki jai, Nishingadev ki jai. And it was all going during the kirtan. I cannot even perceive the intimacy and the level of ecstasy of these kirtans. Like, actually, it's totally beyond our perception. I think our kirtans are more kind of on survival level. You know, it's called sadhana bhakti, and we just chant this, just chant the holy name, you know, with this desperate prayer, you know, forgive me my sins, I did it again, and give me our daily bread. Help! It's kind of sound coming, you know, this is. So don't expect in that kind of mood Lord Chaitanya manifesting his incarnations, because there was nothing of this in the house of Srivas Thakur. Nobody was praying for his daily bread or forgiveness of his sins. That was way, way beyond that. So actually we cannot even comprehend what an intimacy and what the atmosphere was in the house of Srivas Thakur. So our level is, and that's most of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, is just to read, respect, and don't imitate. Actually, in reality, whatever, I have to quote Sridhar Swami on that point. He said it even to his late disciples. I just communicated one of his disciples. You know, Sridhar Swami, he left the body, he departed. And his line of preaching was, don't ask me about Krishna. He said, read the books, we can read together. I cannot tell you much about Krishna, but I can tell you lots about Prabhupada. So he talked mostly about Prabhupada. And of course, while doing so, you end up talking about Krishna. It's unavoidable, because you cannot separate, you know. But that's generally a healthy mood. That's a safe mood. Because without Prabhupada, we would know nothing about Srivas Angam. Especially going there today, you will pass the Bhaktisiddhanta road and there's just some little temple standing there. What? You wouldn't know even the significance of that place. This is all coming through Prabhupada. Whatever devotional mood we assume, that was only given to us and facilitated through Prabhupada. Otherwise, essentially, we are all non-believers. Let's face it. Now, maybe we are not in a mood to put contaminated items here in front of the altar to discredit somebody. That's okay. But the way that actually we can perceive devotional as, you know, ecstasies, and have even some little taste, sure. We experience in front of Prabhupada certainly a devotional ecstasy. I cannot describe to you what happened when Prabhupada was present. There was people who came out of their mental and physical coverings, completely discarded them like you throw a coat away. I saw in Bhaktivedanta Mela in the temple, in the Guru Puja, something around 70 years old lady jumping 1.5 meter high, you know, completely in ecstasy. The physical action didn't correspond to the age of the body whatsoever. And realizing that she brought these lilies for Prabhupada, she wanted to offer at the Guru Puja, and she would never make it to a temple room packed with devotees and offer the flowers to Prabhupada. It was impossible, and especially which were devotees which were so raging kirtan. Prabhupada wanted that kirtan. I remember that kirtan, it started very, very slow, because Prabhupada was in a very difficult physical condition. And somehow everybody didn't want to know that, but actually everybody knew it's maybe the last time we see Prabhupada. So Prabhupada didn't like it. He was sitting on the Vyasasana, he had this very heavy swollen hands. And he looked at this very grievous, you know, very deep kirtan, Shri Guru Charana Padma. Prabhupada was like, he looked at the Krishna Maharaj, he was sitting next to him. Prabhupada was like, what are they doing here? And then his hands went up, and he was going, this big hands, swollen hands, and he was like, oh, you could see how Hare Krishna movement works right away there. As he was going like this, the first row of devotees was already on the ceiling. The Mridanga started to sound like machine guns, you know, just the speed came out, and it came like a shockwave. It went through the audience, and one devotee caught on the other. Within seconds, it was just outrageous kirtan. Everybody jumping, and Bhaktivedanta Mela, you know, it's a small temple room relatively, you know, and pretty low too. When you jump high, you can touch the ceiling for sure. Devotees were just going nuts. Everybody was on the ceiling, and there was Mataji squeezed in the back as usually, you know, and they were also completely crazy. And I just stood close to the Vyasasana, I just turned around, and I saw this old lady way back in a corner, squeezed by the devotees, and she was like, and she was just, you know, can rocket come, and she had this huge pile of these white lilies, these white lilies. We have them right now standing in the garage. And then when I saw the lilies, I remember that incident with that lady. And she wanted to go, Prabhupada, you know, make a special offering, give me a whole pile of white lilies, put there. She would never make it. So what she did, as she was jumping sky high, she took the lilies and with incredible force threw them over the heads of the devotees, flying through the temple room all the way towards Prabhupada. And there was suddenly all these white lilies flying everywhere, you know, and the devotees were catching them and throwing them further. I was just like, well, that's the proof that we are not the body, isn't it? This is what happens when you come in an association of Prabhupada. You can get a little bit glimpse of that. How wonderful and intimate Krishna consciousness can be. How nice it is not to be this big and throw away, like you throw a coat or something, just throw away all that miserable, you know, way of thinking, all that self, you know, centered, you know, and worried type of consciousness. In presence of Prabhupada, it was like, what's the problem? Chant. And then you realize that this is all self-imposed, you know, type of conditioning we acquired while being millions of lifetimes in this world. Because when you look around, everybody cares only for himself. The crows are jumping around, going, bah, 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 bah. And the dogs are going, me dog. The cats walk across the street. That's me, you know. It's my lizard. What are you doing here? You know, not very social. Everybody lives alone and on his own terms. It's hell. That's what makes this life so hellish in this world, because everybody dictates his own terms. When that is thrown away, and you simply listen to the holy name, then you get some glimpse what happened there in Srivas Angam, where everybody was 100% focused on the Supreme Personality of Buddha who was leading the kirtan. So a little bit of that, we cannot imitate, but a little bit of that, we can think about this. Maybe we are not as miserable as we think. Maybe we don't have that many problems as we think. Maybe we just imagine lots of things, you know, which are not necessarily imposed upon us with such a violence as we think they are. So I would like to actually wind it up with a mission statement, which is also included in the same chapter of the Lila. This is basically, I would call it a mission statement, which is actually an explanation to the famous shloka which we used to chant even in Kirtan. I don't know if it's bonafide, but it's not harmful for sure. Harinama, 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 eva kevalam, kolonasti, 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 eva katir, anyata. This used to be chanted always in public Harinam, saying Harinama, 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 eva kevalam. They had really good singers and musicians, so they can actually put it in the right tune, so you could easily follow. And Prabhupada and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, this is actually, the shloka goes, in this age of Kali there is no other means, Harinama, Harinama, Eva Kevalam, Kalonasti, Kolonasti, Kolonasti, 3 times it's repeated. In this age of Kali there is no other means, no other means, and no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of the Lord Hari. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. And then Krishna's Kaviraj explains more. This verse repeats the words Eva, certainly, 3 times for emphasis. And it also 3 times repeats the Harinama. It's a repetitive shloka. The holy name of the Lord, just to make common people to understand. Because in Kali Yuga, everybody is so dull, you have to repeat everything 3 times. That was what we assumed, you know. They are so stupid and so dull. You have to say it 3 times, so they start to think, what was this? Aha, I heard something. As a matter of fact, we know from preaching, you can repeat it 50,000 times, they still don't get the point. But at least 3 times. That's what they assumed in Charitamrita. They are so dull. Let's repeat it 3 times. Okay? The use of the word Kevala only prohibits all other processes such as cultivation of knowledge, practice of mystic yoga, and performances of austerities and fruitive activities. In other words, don't bring it into Krishna consciousness. It doesn't belong here. Anything concocted, Vedic concocted. It's all in the Vedas, you know. There's a whole Vedas dedicated for this purpose. But for performing austerities, fruitive activities, practice of mystic yoga, you have a Veda for everything. Don't bring it into Krishna consciousness. It's nothing to do with that. Then Prabhupada writes, this is what I call the mission statement. Our Krishna consciousness movement stresses the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra only, whereas those who do not know the secret of success for this age of Kali unnecessarily indulge in the cultivation of knowledge, practice of mystic yoga, and the performance of fruitive activities or useless austerities. Just yesterday Prabhupada said, we are very austere in Krishna consciousness. We eat lots of prasadam, we chant Hare Krishna, we dance in ecstasy. That's the only austerity I ask for. Devotees are just, you know, blessed. And Prabhupada said, and still they cannot do that. It's too austere. You know, which is essentially the fact. These austerities mentioned here, they are simply wasting their time and misleading their followers. When we point this out very plainly to an audience, members of the opposing groups become angry at us. But according to the injunction of the Shastra, we cannot make compromises with these so-called jnanis, yogis, kamis, and tapasvis. When they say they are as good as we are, we must say that only we are good and that they are not good. This is not our obstinacy, it is the injunction of the Shastras. We must not deviate from the injunction of the Shastra. This is confirmed in the next verse of Charitamrita. And that Krishna Kaviraj Goswami continues. This verse clearly states that anyone who accepts any other path cannot be delivered. This is the reason for the triple repetition, nothing else, you know, nothing else, nothing else, and nothing else, which emphasize that the real process of self-realization. And then Krishna Goswami continues to describe how we can keep ourselves in a mood of chanting without being discouraged. That's a whole chapter on its own. To chant the holy name, always one should be humble in the grass, in the street, and devoid of all desire for personal honor. But one should offer others all respectful obeisances. The devotee engaged in chanting of the holy name of the Lord should practice forbearance like that of a tree. Even if he is rebuked and chastised, he should not say anything to others to retaliate. That's meant for personal honor. It was recorded by the Prabhupada's servants how tolerant Prabhupada was when people misbehaved towards him, and they did. Even disciples, due to ignorance, due to not being trained. Prabhupada was offended so many times. He was quite tolerant. But when it came to the mission, in other words, somebody started to speak some philosophy and, you know, declaring the Krishna consciousness like that, and Prabhupada was non-compromising. Quite often leading to the fact that the person in question ran out of the door, slammed the door and flipped out. And Prabhupada ruined the whole public programs in this. It's recorded. Freaked out, a big thing, and, you know, and sometimes really a big programs got completely just going, Prabhupada, please, I mean, do we have to point out that women are less intelligent, you know, and do we have to point out all this heavy stuff? It seemed sometimes almost like Prabhupada was almost enjoying it. He spent the whole preaching tour just focusing on an issue which guarantee blew the minds away of the people who came to welcome him. You know, it was not done to enjoy to be controversial. It was done to show his disciples that by any means you have to be faithful to Shastric statement. Don't change it, don't compromise it, don't adjust it, don't try to tamper with it, don't. But, of course, some discrimination is also needed. We know, on the other side, that was the generation I come from, where the Shastra was often used as the hammer, you know, to prove your superiority on others. You know, it's very immature to do such a thing, and it has the same effect of offensiveness as if you would not point out, sometimes in times of need, the Shastric statement. So Shastra is not something to be tampered with and used for some purpose. It's something simply to be served. And for that purpose, one should not take in consideration social acceptance or some popularity or something like that. It was really shocking sometimes what Prabhupada did, you know, just devotees invited guests of honor, some very influential young members of some rock group. And Prabhupada gave a lecture only about the four regulative principles, you know. These guys never showed up again. Nobody was going, why tonight? Why does he have to lecture about that? You know, this kind of influential rock group, you know, which definitely lived always beyond the principles. That was the rule. And then Prabhupada gives a whole evening lecture about, you know, no illicit sex life and you know, and no intoxication. It's like, where is this coming from? It was almost like empowered. And it was all for the benefit of the disciples. Therefore, you see how actually I can confirm that the level of preaching those days, which attracted so many people, was so uncompromising you cannot imagine. And nowadays we always devise some tactics and we try to change this and maybe we should adjust that, maybe we should just... And it's not really much coming, isn't it? How come? Because purity is the force. And ultimately, as Prabhupada demonstrated before going to the West, the blessing, that's what makes things to move. As he asked for blessing of Rupa Goswami, he asked blessings from Srivas Thakur. Please, I go to this crazy place. You know, Prabhupada didn't even know where he's going. He never saw snow in his life. But he speaks some hippies. He said, oh, hippies I could recognize. They remembered me on the Shaivites a little bit. You know, also whole day lying around doing nothing and smoking ganja. That I knew from India. This kind of low-class Shaivites, they're high-class Shaivites too. But you know, this is generally what you see. They have the trident, you know, and the, you know, pot with the hashish, you know, and they go, and then they just sleep. And then they have a can there for the donation for the saint, for the holy man. Few rupees, you know. And they don't need much. They are covered with, you know, dirt. They just sleep on the side of the road. It's images you get to see in India. So Prabhupada said, yeah, when I saw hippies, I was thinking, oh, they have it here also in the West, you know. Guys who don't care, sleep on the, you know, on the side of the road, smoke ganja. I think Prabhupada very knew well the smell of ganja. He was quite experienced with that. I don't even mention that it was a part of a social life. It's too wild for devotees to think about this. You know? Prabhupada even, when he was, his father had a ganja pipe for the yogis to come. He welcomed the yogis and they were offered some prasad and some ganja. Not to be copied. Because actually, and Prabhupada actually, the result was from that Prabhupada became a Gandhi follower. He was thinking, yoga, yogis, ganja. Yeah, that's what I grew up with. All these smoked, doped guys coming in. But because his father was a very pious person, nevertheless he was thinking, it's a saintly person, okay. He is my ganja offering. Not to be copied. It's not like Prabhupada recommend us to be that hospitable. You know, not at all.
That would be something for them.
That would be really something for Denmark, isn't it? We would have so many guests. It would be a full temple, you know that? Just a little pipey in the entrance here, and with smoke coming out, they will all come.
And a lot of prasadam. And
lots of prasadam because you get hungry. You would have a preaching program, you wouldn't be believing how many bhaktas you would have. But let's take it easy, okay? We have Kula Gov finished. And that's it. So, I don't have much more to go on. I will not indulge and dwell in which kind of incarnations on which kind of time Lord Chaitanya manifests while sitting on an altar in Srilas Thakur house. I know only it must have been very, very special to be part. And that atmosphere you can still feel when you go there. You were there recently?
Yeah.
They still make it kirtan like this when they come in? Or? Because the pujaris those days when I came, they were very restrictive and they were very worried.
Yeah, when they take,
huh?
When they go on Parikram, yeah. I don't go to Parikram, I went there this time I own, but no big kirtan. I was there when I went.
I was there with these heavy guys like Ramananda and Chutananda and all this, and they had already established relations with the pujaris. So it was a very small operation, a very small, intimate operation. Still, this is the beauty of that place, it still emanates this kind of intimacy there. And then they opened the altar and they brought out the Sadhuja, amazing. Huh?
I don't know if you heard about it, but just recently when there was this kirtan in Mayapur, Jananidas Prabhu, somebody had filmed the Panchatattva, that tears were coming from their eyes, and everybody was saying, you know, like maybe this just humidity in the room and like that, but he and his brother, they said that because of this